ANC Treasurer-General Paul Mashatile says the late Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Jolidee Matongo, was totally dedicated to the city until his last day. Mashatile was delivering a tribute at the Mayor's funeral service at the Finetown Hall in Johannesburg. Matongo passed away in a car crash on his way home from the ANC election program in Soweto last weekend, which was led by party President Cyril Ramaphosa and Gauteng Premier David Makhura. Other members of the City of Johannesburg executive say that the best way to honour his memory is to serve the citizens of Johannesburg with diligence and respect.
The Chinese revolutionary and statesman Deng Xiaoping had the following to say: the task of a cadre in a nutshell, or the tasks of the cadre in a nutshell, are two: to serve the people wholeheartedly and to put the interests of people first. Close quote. These words aptly describe who Comrade Jolly was as a member and leader of the African National Congress. He served wholeheartedly. He put the interests of the people first. He exhibited some of the finest qualities required by our movement. We counted him amongst the finest within our ranks. In him we saw a bright future for our country and our movement. We are proud to say that Comrade Jolly was a product of the Congress movement. Like many in his generation, he was a child of the movement. He grew up within the movement. The Congress movement was his second home. It was his life.
Let's get more on the story. We cross to our reporter, Samkele Maseko. A very good afternoon to Samkele. A very sad day for people in attendance.
Yes, indeed. It was very sad moments on the legacy of Jolidee Matongo, who was the executive mayor of the City of Johannesburg and the ANC regional spokesperson for about 8 years, where he held that position with Dada Murero as the regional secretary. He went on to become the executive mayor and the MMC of finance in the City of Johannesburg. But I'm going to bring in Dada Murero, the regional secretary, and Mfikoe, who's also an MMC within the city and also the regional treasurer. Mr. Murero, you are a very close friend of the late Jolidee Matongo. You gave a tribute to him, speaking on behalf of the friends, with Jacob Kawe and with Brian Marupeng. Just the legacy as the remains of Mr. Matongo go to his final resting place.
Well, we would have remembered Comrade Jolidee, the executive mayor of Johannesburg, for quite on critical issues that he would have delivered in the city, and one of those would have been the accelerated service delivery program, which he had done so well, committing to go on the ground and engaging communities. He was not fearful. He was not a man who opted to win the office, but was a man who opted to lead the people in resolving their problems.
When you look at what you shared, the stories that you've had with him, you had a brotherhood, you were called the Big Four minus one now. What would this mean for the brotherhood that the four of you had? Him, Jacob Kawe, Brian Marupeng, and yourself.
Well, it means there's a void that has been opened, but I believe we have to create more Jolidees, whether within the Big Four, and create more Big Fours so that society can benefit from people with the character and personality of Comrade Jolidee.
Mr. Moerane, in many instances, in such occasions when there has been such an unfortunate situation, the family last sees the ANC on this day. The ANC forgets about the families of the deceased. What can you say that the ANC will do differently this time around to the legacy of Mr. Matongo?
Thank you, Samkele. Samkele, as the ANC, we are saddened. and we are very worried with the family, but it's not only the family of Comrade Jolly, but all the families of the deceased, starting with former Mayor, Councillor Jeffrey Makubo, now is MMC Matongo. We had discussions with the Regional Secretary that we have to come up with a plan that will sustain the families. The two comrades have been breadwinners in their families. We can't just say, yes, they've passed on, life moves on. We can't do that. That would be irresponsible. But as the ANC, it's a broader problem that we need to take care of. The Treasurer-General has come up with funeral policies for the members of the ANC, where if they lose their loved ones, the ANC funeral policy can take care for where they have left off. But in this particular one, Samkele, Councillor Jolidee, who's the executive mayor, was our close friend. So even the families were very close. So we are going to make sure, beside the ANC, as friends, we come together and make sure that the family is taken care of.
Mr. Morero, on the last part on your side, the Premier of the province and the ANC chairperson spoke about factionalism in the region of Johannesburg, saying that Councillor Matongo, the executive mayor, and the REC member was able to navigate through those divisions and factionalism that is entrenched in the region. What will then happen now with the passing of the executive mayor going forward, looking futuristic?
Well, factionalism, it is a cancer in the ANC, a cancer that's eating up the ANC. And in fact, it is our responsibility to destroy these factions and bring all comrades to work together to one common objective. So we have a responsibility to do so. The statement made by the Premier, I suppose it was not only reflective of Johannesburg, but the organization as a whole. We are faced, of course, with the cancer of factionalism and divisions, and it is our responsibility, as the President would have declared in the last NEC, that our responsibility as ANC is to close ranks and ensure that we destroy factionalism and divisions in the ANC. It's a process in itself, it's part of organizational renewal, and we hope at some point the ANC will achieve a state in which it says, yes, we are now an organization of Oliver Tambo and an organization of Nelson Mandela, which we have rid ourselves of all factions and divisions.
Mr. Morane, last bite for you. Should there be a call-up for you in the now vacant seat with the untimely passing of the mayor, what would you do if you were to be positioned in that position in the living memory of your friend?
Samkele, you're asking me a difficult question, but the answer is very simple. That let us leave the ANC processes to the leadership to determine what's the next step to be taken. Obviously, we work as a collective. We want to make sure that as we move forward, we carry on with the legacy of Executive Mayor Matongo where he left off, making sure that we give services to the people of Johannesburg, accelerated service delivery, and making sure that the people of Soweto, in particular, Orange Farm, Ivory Park, Diepsloot, have electricity directly supplied by the city through city power. That is the legacy that Matongo wanted to see, and we'll make sure as a collective we do that.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, and condolences once again. That was Mfikoe Moerane and Dada Morero speaking on the legacy of Jolidee Matongo.
Samkele Maseko, thanks for that update.